Hey y'all, welcome to week one of Developing the Leader Within 2.0. And I'm super excited that we are starting this just as a very small group because I think it's going to give us a chance to kind of dive deep. So, my challenge to you is be on the first call and also be on the last call. Like, make it all the way through. You guys will notice the trend of we'll start higher and we'll kind of trickle down. Be one of the ones that make it the whole way. Okay. All right. So, like I told you guys when we were setting this call up, my plan is to not facilitate this call. I want everybody coming with questions and takeaways and thoughts. Um, so I'll just open it up to the floor now. What surprised you about this chapter? Was there something that you learned that you didn't expect? Was there something that was kind of like, oh man, I was unaware of that, or that caught you off guard? Anything like that? Feel free to just unmute and share.
I feel like I have figured out that just from past employment and careers that I've had, that I am very much a manager
Mm,
and not a leader,
okay.
because that is the role that I've always had to be in. So I feel the shift in learning more about actual leadership. I mean, I do have some natural leadership skills, but I'm real excited to get more into the book of how to pull those out instead of the management pieces, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I love that takeaway. I think a lot of the time, especially in the corporate world, they'll use management and leadership interchangeably, and they're entirely different, right? Managers can keep something that's going, but leaders
Exactly.
are actually able to change the direction of something in a positive way. Um, So I love that thought, Molly. And also, kudos. I see you showing up. For those of you that don't know, Molly has had, man, one thing after another for the last several weeks. The loss of her mom, and then this last week followed by the loss of her husband's mom. So just I see you leading through grief. And
Mm.
sometimes it's nice to have the community to come and kind of take a pause from
Oh,
reality and
100%.
be with your people. So
100%. Yeah.
we're glad that you're here. We're thinking about you, praying for you.
Thank you.
Welcome. What else stood out? What surprised you guys about this chapter?
I mean,
What I liked, well, not necessarily what I liked, but what I liked seeing in myself was they were going over the 5 levels of leadership, which we've already read that book. And when I read 5 levels of leadership, I answered the questions differently than I am now. Like the growth that has happened and the realization of things that have happened since we read that book through going over them again in this chapter, I was like, oh, I specifically remember thinking I was doing that last time. I'm not doing that. Like it made me feel like even though things don't always go the way I want them to, or I don't see the end result yet that I'm wanting, there is growth because acknowledging that you're not doing what you thought you were doing at least means I'm growing in that area enough to see it to do something about it.
I love that. Yeah, I think sometimes in our immaturity as leaders, we will give ourselves much more credit than we're due. And I think you're exactly right. I think there is growth when you can realize like, oh, maybe I'm not nailing it in all the areas. And I think that you will find as you climb the levels of leadership, most really mature leaders give themselves very little credit when things go very well. They usually blame their team for the success, but when things go wrong, they take tons of the ownership. And I think that's just a mark of a leader. I mean, when things go well, you give credit away, and when things are not going well, you take complete ownership and understand that you can change that. Eleni, what were you going to say?
For me, it was revisiting, just like Jessa said before, it's revisiting the old book from the new. And for me, it was compartmentalizing again the levels of leadership and how, with every single person that you influence in your life, that level of leadership is different.
Yep.
And how effective of an influencer you are for one person may not be or have the same effect on another person because everyone learns different. Everyone's goals are different. So adapting yourself to be the right type of leader for that person that you are helping grow is very important to focus in on. And this pyramid just brought me to that point to think back and was like, oh wow, it makes sense. This person isn't responding this way, or this person is.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like what he says in the book where he talks about anytime he meets someone new, here's what I'm guilty of. I will try to jump immediately into production. And he says, like, you first have to establish that connection, that relationship. I love when he said in the book, you can skip a level if you want to, but you're going to be forced to circle back.
Yep.
And so I think sometimes what we will do as business owners is we will try to get someone in production very, very quickly, get them getting results, success, love, speed. All of that's true. But we'll skip that connection and that relationship piece because we feel like that's going to have to be a long process. But in reality, it doesn't have to be a long process. It just has to be an intentional process. And so that's something that I definitely am learning and relearning over the years. So I love that. I also love that he said, you never leave a level behind. Like it builds upon each other. And just like trust, I mean, it takes a long time to build and you can lose levels quickly. But the good news is, I always look for the good news. The good news, it can always be regained, always be regained. So, yeah, I love that. All right. What else?
I
Well,
tend
oh,
to
go ahead.
I tend to stay in a position too long. It's like and it's I don't know if it's fear that makes me want to move, but it's like, Christina, you and I have chatted. I was a level 3 and I feel like I've backslid to level 2. And so but yeah, I feel like I stay too long in one area, and then I almost wait too late to move to get to the next one. So with some people. So anyway, so no, it was very eye-opening for me.
I think some of that is personality, Nancy. I think a lot of it is fear, like we've talked about over the years. I think with people with your personality, whereas my tendency can be get too quickly into the production zone, your tendency can be get stuck in the friend zone. And so I love when he said, this was so eye-opening for me when he said, spending time with people is not the same as investing in people. And it just made me think of all of my feelers, all of my type 2 leaders. It's like, man, we call ourselves, not we, because I'm not a feeler, but they call themselves, I'm like, I am investing, I am developing. And it's like, at the end of the day, what we actually might be doing is spending time with them, which fills your cup. But if you're spending time with somebody who is eager to get into the production mode or whatever, you see how that becomes a conflict of interest. So just some things to be mindful of, in the same sense that I have to be mindful to slow down to get in that permission level. Some other people are going to have to be intentional to move out of that. And it just comes down to self-awareness. It's why that's one of the number one traits of multimillionaires, self-awareness, because when you're aware of your tendency, then you can understand when that's a strength and when it's a weakness so that you can accommodate. So love that, Nance. Terry, what were you going to say?
I'm over here like, don't forget what you were going to say. What is wrong with my face, y'all? First off, when I was reading this is not my biggest takeaway, but when you were talking about circling back, just know that that was my thing. I thought, oh, Christina, she been circling back on that connection part.
Do I get an A+?
Yeah, you do. Listen, I see you. I see you.
All right.
To me, well, there's lots of takeaways, but clarity. It just gave me clarity on the areas that I need to grow in. And like I was able to write specific things that I need to work on, and not just on things I need to grow in, but like there's so many times, okay, when I go into comparison mode of saying the things that I don't do as a leader. And so it's easy to not see the things that you do good as a leader that you're nailing. And so yeah, it just helped me see, oh, okay, well that's why I have a big team, and that's why that's why those are the things that I am good at as a leader. So it just gave me clarity on, because I mean there's been, even at my other job, like people always said, you're a leader. And I'm like, wow, what do you see that I don't see? And so I don't know, just gives me clarity.
I like clarity. Clarity grows paychecks.
Clarity definitely brings energy and brings money.
Yep. Well, because energy grows paychecks.
That's right.
What's up, Rachel G?
Okay.
48 hours until I get to be assaulted by you.
Ah, karaoke. No, real hard because you got to catch me.
Oh, Lord.
Scratch your back. I'm just kidding.
For
Kind
those
of.
of you that don't know, anytime Rachel Griffin is anywhere within running proximity to me, it's like a running, leaping hug. It's extra.
Well, I'm kind of extra.
It's tradition at this point, though. So,
I'll try
All right.
not to take it personal.
Oh, you can borrow it. You
I
can.
mean, I got enough energy for both of you, so.
Legit.
So I was like humbled a bit reading this because this is my second time through it. And we did this as a team before. And we also did 5 levels of leadership. And I remember reading the 5 levels of leadership. And I swear to you, I was like, I'm on the verge of being level 4. Like I'm almost there. I don't know how long ago it was, but I can guarantee you that was a pile of BS. Like, there's no way I was close to a level 4 leader then if I'm like where I'm at now. And so I was reading this and I was like, oh my gosh, I straight up lied to myself.
Yeah, I told you it's normal. We all do it in the beginning. It's so weird. I don't know. He should start every book from now on. Like, now that you've taken the test, start back and delete X number of points. Like, he should know by now our tendency. Come on, John. Don't expect us to be that self-aware.
It was pretty humbling. I will say though, I started to make things make sense in my business. Like, because I have a pattern of being able to develop someone to a certain level. And then at that point, I'm always like, well, they just quit. They get to this level and they just quit.
Right.
And I was reading this and I was just like, well, what if my leadership had grown to like the next level? I wonder if she would have hit senior gold. Like, I wonder if she would have gone ruby. You know, so that was kind of an aha moment too. Because maybe if I had been more focused on developing my leadership, I could have, well, definitely I could have developed them more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually, that takes me to a point I want to make that Katie asked me about the other day. I hope it's okay if I share this, Katie, but we were talking about creating business builders, and she came to the realization, she's like, I think something that holds me back from inviting people to the opportunity is I don't know that I am like naturally gifted at seeing people's potential. Like, how do I know what they're supposed to accomplish? How do I know what they could achieve? And I think that that does have something to do with leadership. And so what I had to tell her, the thing I had to grow through in this area was not that I couldn't see people's potential or their strengths, but I was looking at it through a filter of, I don't know if they would be willing. And so when I was having to battle the whole, I don't even know if they would be willing. I don't know if they would want to. I don't know if they would. It kind of grayed out their potential and limited my ability to express it to them. And so when I decided, you know what, I'm going to look at this person not through any lens of whether or not they would. Whether they would is totally irrelevant to me. Whether they would want to, I don't care about. Here's what I'm going to think of. I'm going to look at this person. Bye, babe. I'm going to look at this person. I'm going to think, if this person were not only willing, but eager, what's the farthest I could help them go? And when I phrased that question in my brain, it just opened up the possibilities for every person. Y'all, I could put in somebody that just, they have very little influence, maybe even very little ambition, very little energy. But if I thought about, okay, if this person were not only willing, but eager to, how far could I get them? They might be a natural level 1 leader, and the farthest they might go, according to him, might be level 4. But if they were willing and excited to do that, could I get them there? And all of a sudden, I'm able to articulate, hey, listen, this is the thing that I think if we were to develop could get you to the next level. This is the thing that if you were to lean into, we could use that to get you to the next level. And all of a sudden, what didn't make me feel like I was blowing smoke up someone's butt, because no one's going to be willing to do that, right? I don't want to go and tell people, you should come build this business with me because of reasons that I can't actually articulate. No, I wanted to be able to say, hey, listen, if you decided to do this, these couple of things that I've noticed about you, they're exactly why I think we could help you be successful here. And all of a sudden, most traits fit. If they're a natural connector, it fits. If they're a natural achiever, it works. If they're introverted, perfect. We need those introspective thinkers. If they're extroverted, awesome. We need them at these events so that they can do full body hugs for people. Like, all of a sudden, it didn't matter what their trait was. I was able to figure out how to say, this right here about you, this would be an asset. And so, anyway, I think that does clarity, yes, when it comes to ourselves, but also clarity when it comes to other people, and being able to point that out. I loved this question. Would love to hear y'all's thoughts on this one in the book, on page 9. It was very beginning when he said, how would your life change if your influence increased, your workload decreased, and you focused on using your strengths while others used their strengths in your areas of weakness? I'll tell you,
I'll
I'm
answer
currently.
this one. Oh,
Oh, perfect. Go ahead. I was going to say, I was going to tell you mine, but I'll save mine for the end. Go, Katie.
well, I was just saying, like, it would, can you hear me? I've got
Yeah.
earbuds in. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say I'm an inherently confident person normally. Like when it comes to raising my kids, I'm apparently not. But
Relatable.
what I had said was, and this, if anybody's a military spouse, they know this, but you are basically called all through the military a dependent. And that was always kind of like hard for my head to wrap around because I've always been independent and confident in like what I do and everything else. But I still have always felt dependent on my husband for his income, his leadership, his role in our family. And I was not the moneymaker. Even when I was at work, I just made a fraction of what he made. So for me, if my influence financially, like in my family, and then my workload decreased while still increasing that, like I would no longer feel that dependence. And that's huge for me because then that would help my confidence. And I think it would help me feel better equipped to lead in different aspects of my life too.
I love that.
And I would feel less trapped. Because right now, like as with that dependent title, I feel like, well, then how could I ever, like if something happened to my husband or something happened to his job or something happened, like if I'm just the dependent, then what the heck would happen?
Right. It doesn't make you feel like a contributing partner. Let me ask
Right.
you this. Let me challenge you a little bit, because what would our relationship be if I didn't? Um, so when you say when this happens, then it will have impact my confidence and it'll impact this. What do you think comes first? The energy of showing up in that confidence or the result to achieve that confidence?
The energy. Like I feel like you kind of have to fake it first.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes that I come across as very confident and then people are like, wait, you were not confident in that? I'm like, I was terrified, and I'm like, yeah, the confidence has to come first because eventually, like, I'll figure it out. I started selling this stuff or, like posting about it before I ever got my product. Like I had no idea. I still don't know. Like we talked about this morning, I'll probably lose half of these first starters at some point because I haven't been retaining them the right way or whatever, because I'm figuring that out. But I have the confidence that I'll be able to lead other people. I just have to find the words.
Absolutely, you will. Here's what I learned from Keith Callahan. He said that you have to, like, when you hold space in your brain for the 5 year from now version of yourself, and we're going to work on that tonight. If you're get on the mentorship call tonight, because we're going to work through some of this that I learned from him. But he said, when you can visualize your 5 year self, then what happens is you're able to put on that identity. Doesn't feel like faking it. Because I know for years I would tell my team, fake it till you make it. Like And that always felt very disgenuine to a lot of people. Like, I don't want to fake it. Like, that feels like I'm not being myself. But if you're just morphing into your 5 year from now self, then it's your same identity. You're just stepping into that energy. And that made some things connect for me because here's an example. So Rhett is my baby. He's 6, but he will be 11 in 5 years. And so I can easily think about maybe parenting situations that might be going on at 11. And I can easily, hypothesize how I will be handling them and what my energy will be and how I'll want to show up from him then. It's not disgenuine in any way. I'm not saying, okay, well, show up in 5 years like Madeline would. Like, no, it's show up how I intend to show up in 5 years as a mom to Rhett when he's 11. I can do the same thing in my business now. Like, 5 year from now, me earning $2 million a year, double diamond on a multiple account, 7-star diamond. Like, I can visualize that now. I mean, that then, and then I can just start to walk in that energy now. And what it does is it pushes me to do more than diamond emerald Christina would today. Because if I say, okay, how does 7-star double diamond Christina show up today? All of a sudden, what I was planning to do or what I was going to let myself get away with, it doesn't measure up anymore because I'm walking in a different energy. And that was so clarifying for me. So, what are y'all's thoughts? How would your life change if your influence increased, your workload decreased, and you focused on using your strengths while others used their strengths in your areas of weakness?
Well, I think that if you're focusing on your strengths and you're surrounding yourself by people that have other strengths, by nature, you're gonna if you're around 5 people that go to the gym, you're gonna be the 6th. Like by nature, you're gonna actually get better at the things that aren't your strength while helping them get better at what wasn't their strength by creating that circle. Like I have not one bone in my body that is artistically inclined as far as like photography or having an eye for things like that. And since I have been learning from asking Raven, can you help me with a photo here? Can you make this look pretty? Like I have this idea. Can you put this on paper? Or Corey's really graphically inclined. Hey, I want a graphic that has this and this to send to my people when they're ordering. Can you help me with that? Then next thing I know, I'm in Canva whipping out something that I would have never been able to do 2 years ago. But it's because I was putting myself out there with my strengths, helping them where they weren't strong. And then they were in turn helping me where I wasn't strong.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone grows.
Yep.
And the way I explained that to someone else that was all in their feelings about how they weren't good at something and I was when I waited tables. If I'm carrying a tea pitcher and I'm walking past the table with an empty tea, it is not my table. I don't get that tip, but I'm going to fill that tea because they're all going to have good service. And this table has good service. And now everyone's telling everyone to come eat at this restaurant because they all had good service. And eventually we all make more money because I filled your tea, you grabbed my empty plate, you brought my table a ketchup, and I took your table their food before it got cold in the window. And now we all made more money.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, that makes way more sense.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, just like exactly what you just said, because then you're also not feeling like you have to carry everything on your shoulders. So if you have a bad month, the people now that you've surrounded you can help lift you up, and then you can do the same when they have a bad month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think something that's it's a core value of mine, and this will be no surprise, is fun. Like fun is a core value of mine, and it's very important to me no matter what I'm doing. And so as I was writing this, I was thinking like if I'm working in my strength and my team is working in their strengths, and I'm not having to worry about my weaknesses so much, and they're not having to worry about their weaknesses so much, it all of a sudden becomes a lot more fun. And it won't be easy, but it'll feel it'll feel easier because we're working out of our strengths, which will make it a lot more fun, which obviously is important to me. So
love that. So true, Rachel. Madeline, what were you going to say?
I was going to say my answer was pretty much the same as Katie's. I'm used to being financially dependent, and I just came into this wanting to prove to myself that I could do this because I kind of came into this thinking, well, I'm not a natural born leader. So and then on like the first or the second page, that was literally like the top reason that people don't develop as leaders, because they're not necessarily born. But just having a team to lead in this setting, because I'm the oldest sibling, I'm a mom, so I am a leader in certain aspects of my life, but I've never done anything in like a career aspect. So I'm super excited to see that happen and that develop.
Yeah. And I just want you to know, I know this is new for you to consider yourself a leader, but leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I will tell you, just being around our team, I promise you, you influence people to feel lighter. You influence people to feel more excited. You influence people to feel more fun, which is very, very important. And those are strengths of yours that I will lean on for the next 10 years because those things come naturally to yo. I walked up to Madeline at was it Punta Cana, Madeline? Now, Madeline,
Yep.
Was this the first time we actually met in
It
person?
was the very first time we met in person. Yes,
Very
ma'am.
first time, and I'm all like so excited to meet her. I also get very nervous, just so you guys know, when I have to meet new people because I feel like I don't know what I'll feel like. I feel like I'll be awkward or something. But anyway, so we're having a whole conversation and then the beat dropped. I don't know what song it was, but I turned to make eye contact and continue the conversation. And homegirl had dropped it like it was hot. And I'm like, oh, she fits in here. She gonna fit in here. I'm like, I literally thought, oh yes, I have another fun one. I mean, it just immediately felt like, okay, all right. Suddenly connecting with her felt easier. And it was just, I mean, not that y'all have to drop it like it's hot when you meet me, but it let me know like, okay, I knew immediately what some of her core values were. So love that. You definitely are a leader, Madeline. Yes,
Apple
Rachel.
bottom jeans. It comes on and something
Apple
just
bottom
comes
jeans.
in.
And I'm telling you, it's like it took over. It was the most interesting thing. Listen, it does it to Brittany sometimes too. I had Brittany walking off the dance floor at convention. Do you remember this, Rachel? I was like, yes, we're almost homebound. No, no, no. Some Usher song comes on and you just see her slowly, automatically turn around. It's like, we're going to be here another 20 minutes. Okay, great. So, all right. Did we say we were keeping this to 30 minutes, Terry? Okay. One more thing, and then I'm going to not say anything else. What this reminded me of, this question right here. How would you feel? How would your life change if your influence increased, your workload decreased, and you focused on your strengths while others used their strengths? Do you know another word for this to sum it all up? Momentum. When your team is in momentum, this is what happens. So when you first start building this, you're pushing this snowball up the hill. And the longer you push it, the heavier it gets because it's accumulating snow. But you feel like for a time period, you're the only one holding the snowball. Like the work you're doing to make it move, it's not really being recognized yet. The work feels like way more than the reward right now for some of you because you're new. And it's like, man, I'm working really hard, but like this is the result I'm getting or this is the current reward I'm getting. It's kind of like when you first start a new diet and it's like, man, I ate salad 3 days and I worked out all 3 days and I didn't drink any soda. Like, why am I not skinny yet? It feels like the work is not being rewarded. But what will happen if you stay the course and do the right things with the people that you get? You all of a sudden, where your hands are pushing the snowball, you're going to feel the fingers of another hand. And there's going to be somebody pushing that snowball with you. And then that's going to happen for a little while. And then there's going to be another set of hands. And then that's going to happen for a little while. And then what happens is you get to the top of that hill and momentum picks up. And you'll have this several times in your business, but all of a sudden, the reward feels like, did I work hard enough to earn that? Like, I earned a cruise. Did I work hard enough to earn a cruise? I don't know, but I just did it. And all of a sudden, your work decreases because you're staying in your strength zone. And it feels like, man, I have these people, my influence is increased because there's a lot of people here hitting their goals. And this is what I want in my team. So that's what that question made me think of. So thank you guys for getting on. I know we're going to keep it to 30 minutes, but I'm glad that we're here. Listen, if you didn't make it through lesson 1 and you showed up today with shame, just know that's been me many, many times. And this is the point where I would be like, okay, I'll try again next book study. Let me challenge you to not do that. Whether you finish lesson 1 or not, doesn't matter. Move into lesson 2. Decide to just do the next right thing with this lesson. Let go of beating yourself up if you didn't make it through lesson 1. Focus on lesson 2 and show up next Monday so that we have some things to chat about. All right, guys. I'll see some of y'all this weekend at Ruby Retreat, and the rest of y'all will miss you a ton. All right.